Welcome to the We Buy Houses podcast with our host, Brian Spitz, president of Big State Homebuyers, leading the seamless approach to real estate investing in Houston since 2005. Brian's specialty in this large wholesale operation is facilitating real estate solutions for people wanting to sell quickly. Each week, we discuss the ins and outs of wholesale real estate investing and related topics by professionals who matter. And now, here's Brian.
Good morning. This is Brian Spitz with Big State Homebuyers, and today we're going to talk about the importance of home inspections and various questions that you might be interested in addressing about getting your home inspected or buying a home. And today we have Travis Kepp with Southern Star Inspection. So thanks very much for coming to be with us on this podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and how long you've been in the inspection business.
Well, I'm a professional home inspector for the state of Texas, TREC licensed. Been in business now for about a year. My background is building houses. I was a project manager for a huge builder here in the Houston area for about 6 years before I opened up my own business.
Okay.
So just been in construction throughout my whole life, and I thought it was a no-brainer when I wanted to have my own business.
So how do you like it?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love seeing people kind of purchase their dream home and be able to explain some things to help them along the way, as far as especially new home buyers. Helping them understand their home.
So tell us, one of the things I wanted to talk about is getting an inspection before you put a house on the market. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people just wait until they're, and keep their fingers crossed for when the buyer gets their inspection. But you have a different recommendation.
Yeah. I feel that it's almost as important to have an inspection done before listing your home. A lot of times, sellers and realtors find that it's a lot smoother process when they do so. It kind of shows the potential buyer that you're being transparent.
Okay.
You're not trying to hide anything. Most of the time that you have an inspection done on your house before you list it, you can be aware of any kind of potential dangers in your home that you weren't aware of before.
Right.
That you can get settled and fixed before you even put it on the market. So. I think having that, showing the report to a potential buyer, showing them the receipts that you've had it repaired by licensed contractors, shows that buyer that you're really wanting to move along. And obviously it helps the buyer know that they're not having to then go through the process of having their own inspection done. Nowadays in the Houston market, it's a very quick turnaround sometimes with these houses, with the 10-day, sometimes 7-day contracts that are put on houses. It's really a hard time for an inspector to get in there and do a real thorough inspection. But if you put it on there before, I think it's just something that's not done very often, but I think it really helps the process if you want to sell quickly.
Yeah, and we do that at Big State Homebuyers. When we fix a house up and put on the market, I want to know beforehand, did everything come out okay? What are we looking at? Help me decide what we're going to fix and what maybe is not so important, which is a topic I'd like to cover in a few minutes. But do you recommend that the buyer then go get their own inspection, for their own peace of mind?
They can. Obviously, at that point, they know that the inspection's already done, but there are going to be some people that still want to have a peace of mind and get their own inspection.
Sure.
Anytime that an inspection's done in Texas, it has to be done by a licensed TREC inspector here in the state of Texas. So a lot of times the inspection reports will have that inspector's name and TREC license number on there to where the potential buyer can do the research and look into that inspector that did the seller's inspection and see if everything is on the up and up, and then maybe make a choice that they like at that point. I think at that point it's just a peace of mind. If they sleep easier at night knowing that they had their own, that still they could be done.
Okay. And that's a good point, actually. I didn't think about that. I guess, the buyer can always go back and research the person who did the inspection.
For sure, yeah. You can go into the TREC website. I believe it's TexasRealEstateCommission.com, and you can type in inspectors, and then you can look up either by the last name or by the actual license number. So you can see if they're still in good standing with the state. You can check in any kind of their certifications and things, and that way you know that maybe that inspector is done a good job. And also, a licensed inspector does the inspection for the client. That is their property as far as their inspection report. If the potential buyer were to ask the seller, do you mind if I contact your inspector? And then the inspector knows that it's okay, they're allowed to talk and they can ask any questions that they like and answer the questions too. So it just shows it should be an open, just kind of book showing, look, we're ready to sell. And we're not hiding anything. We've done everything we can to try and get you ready to move into your next dream home. So I think it's just a little bit of an untapped market. A lot of sellers and a lot of realtors don't really even bring it up probably to their listing clients.
Right.
So.
That's interesting. So that actually brings up another point. So yes, if you inspect my house before I put it on the market, then I'm your client. But the inspection is completely unbiased. So, I'm not going to ask you to, a client might say, can you leave this off the report? Or, can we not look at that? And
You're exactly right. That should not go on, to be honest with you. A TREC licensed inspector follows what's called the TREC standards of practice. It's at the very minimum inspection. So every inspector should be inspecting this the same way. And Texas is probably one of the hardest states to become an inspector because of their rules and regulations and the way that they expect their houses to be inspected. So yes, there is no, hey, let's leave this off. And there should be. And let's leave this off. Let's overlook this. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and cover this up. Maybe no. Every inspection report should be done the same. We inspect our reports are all in the same format, starting with the exterior structure, moving on down to the basically the other appliances and things like that. So every inspection should be done the same. And like I said, if the seller is very transparent, lets the potential buyer call the inspector, I personally would not have any problem answering any questions, as long as though I know that my client gave the okay.
Right. And again, they could always ask you to go back and take a second look at one or two items just to clarify for them.
And see if they've been repaired or whatnot?
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
I can see that they, and obviously keeping receipts, always suggest having your items repaired, whatever they may be, by a licensed contractor. And do the same that you do when you're looking for an inspector. I get calls just kind of from people just wanting to ask what my background is and just basically my licenses and things like that. Do the same with contractors. Right. Call around and just get a good feel for who you want to use. Ask for referrals and things like that. So, anytime you have those things fixed, an inspector can come back and just say, yeah, this was done correctly, or, hey, this needs to be done a little bit different.
Right. Well, very good. Mm-hmm. So you can reach Travis at www.southernstarinspections.com, and we can also reach you on your phone number, 713-817-3957.
That's correct.
And again, that's southernstarinspections.com, and it's Travis Kepp. So thank you very much for this information. Appreciate you talking with us today.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
You've been listening to We Buy Houses with your host, Brian Spitz, president of Big State Homebuyers. Don't forget to visit our website, bigstatehomebuyers.com, for more information on how to sell your house. We pay $500 for referrals, so tell your friends too.